One of the main things you should consider when using your wildcard is fixtures. Fixtures are the most important thing to consider on a wildcard. You can't be bringing in players from teams which have terrible fixtures just because they're cheap or they fit your budget. You should be looking to have players who should be able to come in at any time and make your team better. Looking at the fixtures here, you can see Liverpool, Aston Villa, Brighton, West Ham, Man United, Arsenal and Newcastle and even Bournemouth have the best fixtures of the lot, while looking at teams like Luton and Fulham and Little Man City or Nottingham Forest as well, they don't have the most attractive fixtures coming up, so you should potentially avoid them. Now, there's a caveat to that. Some sides are better than worse. So if there's a weak side with good fixtures, it's not always worth choosing them. Like, would you want Luton to, when they have a good run, to have one of the defenders? Probably not, because they're not going to keep a lot of clean sheets. While in the inverse, a stronger side like a Man City, it doesn't matter so much who they're playing because they are the team that people fear. Now, moving on to the 4 teams that I would target on a wildcard. First up, there's Aston Villa, then Brighton, West Ham and Liverpool. These sides all have very good and attractive fixtures. A lot of people would be deterred from looking at Brighton because their first fixture of the lot is not ideal, but after that, their fixture run is so nice that you need players from them in. Looking at Liverpool first, you can see their fixtures are just so nice. There's Fulham, Forest, Luton, Brentford, Man City and Fulham. These are sides that you should be targeting to get points against. Liverpool in particular have had a pretty good start. Not excellent by their standards, but they've still had a pretty good start. Looking at their players then, moving on from this, I'm going to be talking to you about players that I think you should be targeting. Now, there's a lot of players at Liverpool you could target, but these are the 6 that I've cherry-picked to talk about. Salah as a midfielder at 12.7 million is essential. Dare I say, essential. I don't think there's a lot of players in this game who are essential, but at times they become it. And Salah right now is essential. Just their games are too good, and at 12.7 million, he's a captaincy shout. In the past, it's always been Haaland. But now, you're not laughing so much anymore. Liverpool are back in with a shout. Then it's on to Darwin Núñez. At first, I thought he was a maybe, but the more I think about it, he's a yes. He's fit, he's training, and you know what? He looks good for Liverpool. At 7.4 million, he's a lot more attractive than one of the midfielders, because the midfielders, there's so much more talent available in that sort of price bracket. So then moving on to Tsimikas. Tsimikas is now done. 10 weeks, you're laughing. 4.4 million, clean sheets. He's an attacking threat. I'm Irish, I know that. Let's not talk about it, okay? Then moving on to Diaz and Jota. These 2 players, both midfielders, both rotation risks. I think they've got a higher upside because they've got chances of scoring, but I do think they both limit each other's minutes. I think Jota may take minutes away from Núñez, but Cody Gap goes out, so I think if you're going to be starting somebody, Núñez will probably start. Trent is just an automatic no, by the way. As good as he is, you're getting somebody like Tsimikas for 3.5 million less. You know who you're choosing. Choose Tsimikas. He's so much better value. It also lets you spend your budget better. Now I'm going to tell you to subscribe. The audio is going to get better, okay? My microphone broke. I don't really know where it is. But yeah. This bad boy broke. This was the old mic. Sorry. It'll be fixed. I swear. This won't. I'll have to buy a new one, but still. Yeah, anyway, moving on to Aston Villa next. As you can see, their fixtures are West Ham, Luton, Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Tottenham and Bournemouth. These are pretty good fixtures with a load of players which are very interesting to buy. Matty Cash at 5.2 million might be at the price of a lot of people, but he is still a good asset to buy if you don't own him. As a defender, he's almost playing as a right mid in some games, and he's just looking very attacking. I think with 2 home games as well, you really want their players. Watkins as well, he's really repaid the fate in people who kept him. At 8.2 million, he's gone back up from 7.9, and he's looking like he's going to score more and more goals. The next run of fixtures as well, there's goals almost in every game I could see for him. Luca Dean, though, I don't particularly like him because Moreno is not too far off returning, and that is a risk to his minutes. Moreno is a favourite of Unai Emery, and I think they'll rotate until he takes the position off Dean. Diaby then has been one of the signings of this season. He's just so attacking, and he's playing up front alongside Watkins. So he's an out-of-position player. He's just so good. He's getting into positions and he's scoring goals. For me, he's an automatic yes to bring it to the side. If you didn't want one of Cash, Watkins, or Diaby, Douglas Luiz is another good pick, though, because he's just so good going forward. He takes the set pieces, corners, he takes free kicks, he gets shots from the edge of the box as well. The one thing that I think that a lot of people don't understand about him is that he tries to shoot from corners quite a lot. And that could mean he can get the odd weird goals that's impressive. So if you bring him in, you never know, he might score straight from the corner. Moving on now to the Brighton and Hove Albion players. A lot of people won't pick Brighton players because of the fact they're playing Man City away first. But looking at the fixtures after that, they're so good. Fulham at home, Everton, Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest and Chelsea away. The 4 fixtures after City are just chef kisses. Matoma is one of the best players in the league. I think at 6.6 million, he's such an easy player to bring in. Then March is a maybe just because of Simon Adingra, who's up beneath him. Adingra seems to be taking minutes off him, and March seems to be pushing back further to play in player out of position, but in the worst way. He's playing as a left back, so March is a maybe, but I just think him and Adingra, they're going to take minutes off each other, and I don't think either of them are nailed on. Then forwards and defenders are just an avoid for me right now for Brighton. I don't know who's starting for them, and I think Lewis Dunk is too expensive at 5 million. There's just so much headaches. Like, Webster's not nailed on, Van Heck is not nailed on, Veltman's not nailed on. And then for forwards, they've got Welbeck and they've got the Irish Stallion up front. The two of those players, they're going to rotate. And when you think one of them's going to start, you never know which one's the other one going to start. And my punt out of all the players at Brighton is Baleba. Baleba's 4.5 million, and I just think he's so good at progressing the ball forward. He's such a good and strong runner, and he's going to get chances and score goals. After that, it's West Ham. So I'm sort of suggesting 2 teams that are going to be playing each other, which isn't too fun, but West Ham have Villa first, Everton, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, Burnley, and then Crystal Palace. Those are 6 good fixtures for a very good team as well. There are some players at West Ham who I'm going to say are more likely to be in the team or better suggested than others, whilst some I'm just not going near. Mikel Antonio is one of those players that I'm just saying, avoid. I don't think he's good enough as an attacking option, and to be honest, I could see Bowen even taking minutes off him up top. Or Kudus. Both of those players can take minutes off him, so and Danny Ings as well. One player won't be taking minutes in Mubama, but he's being brought in by a lot of people. Areola at 4.2 million, one of the cheapest goalkeepers in the game. He's just so solid, he gets save points, and I think he's just going to be guaranteed to get save points and clean sheets over this run. I could imagine him getting 4 clean sheets over these next 6 games, and he'll probably get bonus points too. Bowen as well, he's a midfielder, and he's just such a good player. I think the thing is with Bowen, he could slot into a side like Man United, Arsenal, Man City, and he wouldn't look out of place. He's that good. He's so direct and so underrated. Kufal as well, he's been in a lot of good form lately. I think he's a good option as a defender. I think he's better than Zuma, but Zuma could get headed goal points from the assists off Ward-Prowse. Ward-Prowse as well, he's a maybe. Kufal and Ward-Prowse both maybes, because they're both good options. But I think Areola and Bowen are better. Do I want to double up on the defense when it comes to West Ham? Maybe, so Kufal's a maybe. Kudus as well, I think he's going to come good, but right now he's a not yet. I think he's going to come good eventually, but he needs to make his place in that team his own. One thing that a lot of people are worried about is Man City. Man City are the worry for other people. They don't worry about anybody. They're the best team in the league. So now the real question is, what do we do with Erling Haaland? Well, I'll keep it simple for you. We keep him. Nice and simple, right? Next up, there are a few more players here who were a little bit more tricky on a wild card. Like Brian Mbeumo, he's got the fixture against Burnley, but he's out of form, and he just doesn't look himself. He'll probably score if he gets a penalty, but beyond that, I don't think he's a great asset. Marcus Rashford's playing against Sheffield United, same with Bruno Fernandes. I think because of the fact they've got Man City in their fixture after, it's just an easy get-out clause. As well as Saka, he's an injury risk. I think he's still a good player, obviously one of the best in the league, but it's the same as Son. Both of these players carrying injuries, their upside's limited because their minutes will probably be limited. As for Trippier, I'd keep him. If you have a Newcastle defender, keep him on the wildcard, especially with Trippier, because if you own him, you've taken those price rises, and his next two fixtures are quite good as well. So now moving on to the team that I would suggest as a wildcard card. In goal, it's Turner and Areola. I don't care about Rain, because I wouldn't be starting Turner anyway. Actually, no, I would, but I don't care about Rain anyway. I figure the game for them against Luton will go ahead. Let's just ignore the storm. Moving on to the defense, then there's obviously Tsimikas, who I've suggested, Cash, and Trippier. These are three players that I recommend. Okay, they're all cheap value, great value picks as well. Then I will pick Dalot. United's fixtures are pretty good. They're in the top 7. They're not in the top 7 in the league, but they're in the top 7 in fixtures. The game against Sheffield United is the fixture that you want to have. Taylor, 3.9 million. Only reason he's there. Moving now on to the midfield, it's Bowen, Salah, Diaby, Matoma, and Baleba. There's 4 players there who should be good enough to start this week, but I wouldn't recommend starting all 4. Looking at them though, Salah, essential. Bowen's been really good, so is Diaby and Matoma. These are some cheap, efficient, good players. Now, as I said, Darwin Núñez, Watkins, and Haaland. These are the 3 forwards I would go with this week if I was wildcarding. The reason why I've gone with such a cheaper midfield is because I wanted to have Darwin and Watkins and Haaland. Now, looking at this team, if you were playing it this week, what you would do is you would start Turner in goal because he's playing against Luton. Then you start Tsimikas, Cash, Dalot, and Trippier. Those would be your 4 defenders. And then in midfield, it would be Bowen, Salah, Diaby, with then your front 3 being Watkins, Haaland, and Darwin, with Matoma being your first sub, and then Taylor being... No, that wouldn't be Taylor, would it? No, I mean, Matoma first sub, then... Yeah, it'd be Matoma, then Taylor, then Baleba, and then your second choice goalkeeper would be Areola. Sorry, I'm a bit confused there. So lower, my microphone's broken, okay. But yeah, anyway, that's the video. If you've liked it, please do subscribe. The mic will get better. Chat to you soon.